From the National Weather Service in Raleigh, it's Nick Petro with your weekly Thursday routine briefing for Central North Carolina. And I thought I'd start off today's webinar with a look at the current temperatures, clouds, and radar. And you can see the numbers there on the screen are the current temperatures, and you'll see how basically there's a fair amount of cloudiness over Central North Carolina. And let me stop the loop here. And you can see that where let me get my pointer out here so I can draw on this. Where there are fewer clouds, notice how the temperatures are higher. No surprise there, right? So that's where obviously so clouds have their impact on temperature, because look how you see a bunch of 70s here where there's more cloudy conditions. So the clouds tend to hold back the temperature a little bit. And that will be the case as long as it's cloudy. And oftentimes we say this in our briefing: on cloudy days and rainy days, obviously will be a little bit cooler. But I will point out, if you look on this screen, notice how there's a boundary here from where the temperatures are very warm, 70s and 80s across the east and southeast, versus this fall-like temperatures, 50s and even 40s readings behind this cold front. So basically, when we do see breaks in the clouds, then temperatures will spike very quickly up into the 80s. That's not unusual. So our temperature, when we're in a sort of persistent air mass, which we are, you can see it pretty much east of the Mississippi and south of the Ohio River. That's a very persistent air mass. So as soon as the sun comes out, then temperatures rapidly climb and get into the 80s. So that'll be the case temperature-wise. But as we look at precipitation opportunities, we're still we still have this easterly flow and northeasterly flow. And let me turn off the satellite, and you can see the wind barbs there represent the wind direction, and we're just basically anytime the flow comes off the ocean like so, then you're going to be pretty much in a very humid and a very moist and perhaps even wet type of pattern. And let me put this into a loop, and you can see there's quite a few showers and maybe some thunderstorms there along the coast, and some of that will tend to move in throughout the day. Let me throw on here the Hurricane Center. This is the invest area that the Hurricane Center has been watching, but really it never really developed, and obviously it's running out of time to develop. And so certainly the opportunity for any development is rapidly coming to a close, as this whole inverted trough and low pressure system will eventually move west and onshore. All right. So a quick little rundown of what we've got here, and let me go ahead and remove this screen here, and then put my slideshow into presentation mode. Bear with me here for just a second. All right, so this briefing, as I mentioned, covers today through the 16th of September, our routine Thursday briefing. And this slide here is, I thought I'd start off with the hurricane, the tropical weather outlook from the National Hurricane Center, which shows the two things I want to highlight here, of course, Paulette, and that's the official forecast for Paulette there on the top. And you see that of the entire Atlantic, where this storm could go, is going to head trek right toward Bermuda, unfortunately. So a little speck in the little tiny land mass in the ocean is going to be right right down the middle of that track there. So anyway, the good news for us is it's going to stay offshore and recurve. Renee is further to the east, and it too is expected to really not weaken a whole lot, maybe to hurricane and then back to storm, but that too is expected to stay to our east and recurve. The Hurricane Center is watching an area of disturbed weather there around the Bahamas that may move into the Gulf of Mexico, so it shouldn't be an issue for us. And then the X, just offshore of the Cape Fear region, that's really, again, running out of time to develop. So probably really won't be much of an impact again. So um, in terms of the big picture, while nothing is imminent in the forecast for central North Carolina, we're always keeping a watchful eye on the tropics, especially now that we're in the peak of the hurricane season. And I would be remiss if I left off the big red area there coming off the west coast of Africa. And obviously, we're going to be keeping a close watch on that because certainly as that moves out into the Atlantic, that'll be another one to watch. We're in the Cape Verde season, and we need to watch everything that's out in the Atlantic. So, but nothing imminent. All right. What about the rest of the weather pattern? Well, we've got a wet weather pattern, as I've kind of alluded to already, with that east and northeast flow, bringing lots of moisture off the Atlantic. So that's going to provide pretty high rain chances today, right through this weekend. It's not going to be raining the entire time. It's not going to be a complete washout, but it's pretty high rain chances. So it could rain, pretty much any time for the next 4 days or so. And then finally, we get a cold front to sweep across the area early next week, and that'll provide a nice break from the rain, the heat, and the humidity. You can see that middle of next week. Look how in the panel there, middle of next week, how the high pressure, over the New England region is extended down to the Carolinas. That'll bring some cooler and drier weather for the basically the middle of next week. So looking forward to that. All right, in terms of how much rain we're going to get, today and Friday look to be the wettest days of the next 6 days. While most locations across central North Carolina will see less than 1 inch of rain both today and tomorrow, it's possible that some spots may receive more, where rain showers repetitively move over the same spots. And of course, if that happens, it could result in localized low spot urban and poor drainage flooding. So we'll need to keep our eyes on that today and tomorrow. Okay, so when you add up the next 7 days worth of rainfall, we're looking at about 1 to 2 inches across the area. However, some spots could see more, some spots could see a little less. So it just depends on what areas get under those repetitive showers or a thunderstorm that could produce a heavier downpour. All right, so that's the next 7-day rainfall. This graphic highlights which areas are more susceptible to flash flooding. Okay, so given the wet conditions the next few days, isolated flash floods are possible. Today, it'll be mostly across eastern and northeast North Carolina. Those will be the areas basically east of Raleigh, mainly east of I-95, the areas that'll have the best chance for flash flood to occur. Friday is pretty much anywhere across the entire state. You could see flash flooding is possible. And then once that trough that I've been talking about moves west with time, the greatest risk for flash flooding should shift west of the triangle, basically the western half of the state there on Saturday. All right, so we'll have to definitely be careful of that. In terms of the risk for damaging thunderstorms, large hail thunderstorms, the risk for that's pretty minimal. You can never rule it out, though, in the warm season, but it is on the low end. All right, so that wraps up today's Thursday weekly briefing. Just to kind of summarize things real quick, we're in a wet weather pattern, and that'll provide high rain chances today through this weekend, although today and Friday look to be the wettest days of the next 6 days. And certainly, while most locations across central North Carolina will see less than 1 inch of rain both today and tomorrow, it's possible that some spots could get a little more that have repetitive showers. So obviously, we don't want to rule out the risk for flash flooding, today, particularly eastern North Carolina today, and then all of pretty much anywhere across North Carolina tomorrow. And then we're looking forward to that cold front that'll sweep across our area early next week, and that'll give us a nice break from the rain, heat, and humidity for the middle of next week. Okay, so given the wet conditions, obviously isolated flash floods are possible. So obviously you want to remind folks to slow down when driving in the rain and never drive through areas where water covers the roadway. And of course, we're in the peak of the hurricane season now, so we're always keeping an eye on the tropics. Nothing is imminent right now for central North Carolina, so that's good news. And unfortunately, it looks pretty much like a broken record playing there at the bottom with, look at that, today, tonight, right through Monday, you see rain in the forecast. And of course, the temperatures will always be dependent on the cloud cover, as I kind of alluded to when we first started this briefing. So anyway, that's the way things are shaping up. It won't be raining the entire time, even though it kind of looks that way in the 5-day there at the bottom of this page. It won't be raining the entire time, but basically rain chances are pretty high. That's kind of what we're conveying there down at the bottom. On any given time and day in the next 5 days, there could be a decent chance for a shower or thunderstorm. So keep that in mind if you have plans for outdoor activities. All right, so that wraps up the Thursday routine briefing for Central North Carolina here on the 10th of September, 2020.